A very warm welcome to you all. In this explainer, we're going to dive into a really powerful and timeless story from the Qur'an, from Surah Al Kahf. It's a parable about two men, two gardens, and really the ultimate test of wealth. It's a story that has so much to say about gratitude, arrogance, and what success really means.
And really, the whole story kind of boils down to this one big question, right? Is the wealth we get in this life a pure blessing to be enjoyed, or is it actually a heavy burden, a test that could lead to our downfall? Let's see what this incredible parable has to say.
Okay, so let's get right into it. The story begins by describing this unbelievable gift, a blessing of almost unimaginable abundance that's given to one man. It's basically a picture of a perfect worldly paradise.
So, picture this. The scene is set with not just one, but two magnificent gardens, just filled with lush, beautiful grapevines. Verse 32 tells us this is the foundation of his immense wealth. Productive, beautiful, and just overflowing with potential.
But you know, it doesn't even stop there. These gardens were then completely surrounded by majestic palm trees. So that means not just more produce, but also protection and incredible beauty. You can almost see how perfect and rich this land was.
And to complete this vision of a paradise that just sustains itself, verse 33 mentions a river flowing right down the middle. So this wasn't a piece of land that needed constant back-breaking work. It was effortlessly and continuously nourished. Just an amazing, sustained blessing.
So how does a person respond to a gift like this? You'd think with humility, right? With gratitude? Well, this is exactly where the story takes a turn. We see how this blessing, instead of humbling the man, starts to corrupt his heart and his entire outlook on life.
And here we go, his first critical mistake. In verse 34, he immediately says to his companion, "I am greater than you." He doesn't see the gardens as a gift from a higher power, he sees them as proof of his own superiority. He's literally equating his net worth with his self-worth.
Now, what's really fascinating is that the Qur'an uses this very specific phrase in verse 35 to describe him unjust to himself. It says he entered his garden while wronging his own soul. So his injustice wasn't aimed at his friend, it was aimed inward. His arrogance, his lack of gratitude, it was a form of spiritual self-harm, cutting himself off from what was real.
And this injustice to himself, it just builds and builds until it becomes this profound spiritual blindness. It's a delusion where his pride makes him deny the most fundamental truths about life, the universe, and our place in it.
Just look at the contrast here. On one side, you have his belief, which he states in verses 35 and 36. He looks at his incredible gardens and thinks, this will last forever. He even starts to deny that the day of judgment will ever happen. But the reality, the core spiritual lesson, is that all worldly wealth is temporary and accountability is an absolute certainty. He's completely lost touch with the truth. And this is the absolute peak of his arrogance. In verse 36, he says that even if he is brought back to his Lord, he's so special that he's confident he'll get an even better reward. He literally thinks his worldly success is a VIP ticket to an even better afterlife. It's just a complete misunderstanding of what this life is all about.
Well, a level of arrogance and denial like that, it can't go unanswered. The story now reaches its dramatic climax. For every action, there's a consequence, and the consequence for forgetting where your blessings come from is swift and absolute. And there it is, the stark, simple, powerful outcome from verse 42. The gardens, the source of his pride, the very thing he was convinced would never perish, were gone, utterly destroyed. Everything he valued was just wiped out in an instant.
So, the crucial point here, the thing we absolutely have to understand, is that this wasn't some random tragedy. The story makes it crystal clear why this happened. It was a direct result of his own injustice to himself. In his arrogance, he forgot the true source of his blessings, and so when they were taken away, he had no one to turn to, no real protector. His downfall was entirely self-inflicted.
So what are we, centuries later, supposed to take away from this cautionary tale? Well, the story wraps up with a timeless and profound lesson about where true security actually comes from.
This just perfectly captures the man's tragic path, doesn't it? It's a clear, four-step progression to total self-destruction. He got a blessing, he responded with arrogance, that led him to deny reality and accountability, and that path led straight to his ruin.
And this is really the core principle. The gardens themselves weren't evil. Wealth, power, skill,
These things are neutral. What the story shows us is that they're a test. It's our response, gratitude or arrogance, humility or pride, that decides whether they become a way for us to rise or the reason for our fall.
And so, this ancient parable leaves us with a very modern and very personal question. When things go right in our lives, in our careers, with our families, with our finances, who or what do we thank? Is it our own cleverness, our own hard work, or do we recognize the ultimate source of all blessings? The answer to that question might just define everything.